Welcome back, beautiful people. It's Caroline here from Twin Flame Musing. I hope you've had a fabulous weekend with lots of time to rest, relax and rejuvenate, or for lots of fun and adventure, whichever spins your wheels. I'm here again this week with your weekly reading. We will focus on what we can be doing to navigate the twin flame journey with a little bit more grace and ease. So what is it that we can do within our control and our influence to help us in our journey towards union and wholeness? So we'll take our first card, let's get into this, from the Twin Flame Wisdom deck, and we're looking for an overall theme for the week of what we should be focusing on. Spirit, please select one card for the overall theme for the week of what we should be focusing, what we can be focusing on. Oh, there we go. And the card that popped out is boundaries. So we'll take a look at that. Pop in and grab another couple of cards to go with that. We'll grab a card from the Akashic Tarot deck. Well, one card from Akashic Tarot deck. Focusing on this week. From the John Holland Psychic Tarot, please. And another card from the Flower Therapy Oracle deck, Dwayne Virtue and Robert Reeves. Let's see what we get here. There we go. Okay, so the first card that popped out in the overall theme for the week is boundaries. Boundaries are about honouring yourself and demonstrating your self-worth, or a demonstration, of your self-worth, a sign to the universe of your commitment to self-love. So boundaries are really important on this journey, and they're one of the hardest things I find personally, and I'm sure others of you do, to actually really communicate your boundaries. I find it, really hard to communicate my boundaries, and hard to hold them. When it comes to matters of the heart, or your divine counterpart, it is a natural tendency to want to do whatever we can for them. And often, or not, that can be at our own expense. But the thing is with boundaries, it's vitally important that we get that balance, because to come into union, it needs to be an equal partnership, an equal an equal commitment to one another, because if one ends up giving more than the other, then we get into cycles of resentment, we get into cycles of depletion of our own resources, depletion of our own self-love and self-worth. But by having boundaries, we're demonstrating to the universe that we do have a sense of self-worth, and we do have a commitment to our own self-love, I should say, and our true love, because there's really no use us living in this world and fulfilling everyone else's dreams. And that's what it comes down to. If we don't have boundaries, all we're doing is we're at the will and the command of others, and that's not honouring ourselves, you know. And the more that we show the universe that we do honour ourselves, we do have self-love, we do know what we want, then it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more that we model those things and we demonstrate those things, the more of those things come into our life and into our world. The other things with boundaries is, as I said before, it's not an easy process, or not an easy thing to do, to have boundaries. And as you can see here, this monk is busy here preparing himself. And that's what we have to do with boundaries. It takes preparation. We need to really think about and go within and understand what it is that we really want. What is it at our core and at our heart that we want, and how we want to honour ourselves. And, you know, people will wait. As you can see, these people are waiting for this monk. They're waiting to hear his wise words. They're waiting to be able to share his wisdom. And I think often when we look to assert our boundaries, often we worry that people aren't going to like us, that we're going to push our divine counterpart away further, that we're going to create more of a barrier towards union rather than bringing us closer to union. But that's not the case at all, and that's shown by this next card here, the light. And what it's saying is, if you really honour yourself and assert your boundaries, then anything you want is well within your grasp. And that's really beautiful. That's a really beautiful thing to understand, that by creating boundaries, we're actually bringing the things we want closer to us. Boundaries are also part of our healing process. You know, often, and there are times and experiences in this life and our past lives where we haven't had boundaries, or we haven't had the opportunity to assert our boundaries. And that has meant that we've had to give up parts of ourselves, give up our essence, give up who we truly are. And if we can now start asserting those boundaries in this lifetime, then we begin to heal and close off those old patternings and those old ways of being that have caused us harm and unrest and illness in the past. So know that setting boundaries and sticking by your boundaries and having boundaries are all part of the healing process and all part of the process towards wholeness and self-union, and that it is a vital thing to do, and you need to take the time to reflect and look within and work out what those boundaries are for you. What do they look like? What is it that is just non-negotiable for you? And what it is that you're wanting more, and in essence, what is it that you're wanting more of in your life? Because as soon as you start demonstrating those things, then they come into your existence. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm quickly going to grab another couple of cards, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a message, twin flame messages. So what I'm going to grab here is a message from our divine counterpart in terms of boundaries. So by us asserting our boundaries, what does our divine counterpart want us to know? When we assert our boundaries, what does our divine counterpart want us to know? When we set our boundaries, what does our divine counterpart want us to know? Here we go. Cards come out. So this is an interesting one to come out. So the message from our divine counterpart is, I feel safer in the silence. And what this is saying to me is, there will be the times that you do assert your boundaries with your divine counterpart in particular, you may find that they go silent. And it is them retreating into themselves. It is them sort of, how can I put this? I suppose it's part of their processing of the information that you've given them, because and going into themselves, they feel a lot safer, and it allows them to reflect on what your wishes are and what you're saying to them. Well, I just want a little bit more clarity around this one, because it's why do you go into silence in the boundaries? Why is it safer? Okay, there's a little bit more clarity there. Okay, so when we assert our boundaries with our divine counterpart, sometimes what can happen is they can go into themselves, go into this silence, or go quiet on you, or ghost you, whatever the case may be. And part of that is because they feel safer in that space, and it's also because our intensity. Things are getting serious. When we start asserting our boundaries, they start understanding that there's an intensity to this relationship. But at the same time, they find that really alluring, really sexy, to be able to articulate your needs and your wants in such a way that you're honouring yourself is actually a very attractive thing for our divine counterparts. They find that very alluring. So don't be frightened off should you start asserting your boundaries and think, oh, this is utter rubbish. Now look what's happened. They've gone quiet on me. I'm never going to hear from them again. Just know that what it's doing is taking them to a place of inner reflection themselves and making them really start thinking about, well, what is it that I want? It also is signaling to them that this is serious. You're not just going along for the ride. You're wanting to honour and look after yourself so that you can be at the best self for yourself and for them, which is a really, really important thing in these relationships. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab one final card, one final piece of guidance. And this is coming from a deck, I think it's not actually a tarot deck, it's a set of inspirational cards from Paulo Coelho, and I've probably totally butchered that name, which oh my gosh, I apologize, because Paulo, I love your books, oh my goodness. First one I read was, I think, The Pilgrimage, I think, and then The Alchemist, and then I don't remember the next, but I've pretty much read them all. Anyway, this final card. And then the final card we have here is Patience, Serenity. So when we look at the last couple of cards I had come out, message from the divine counterparts in terms of when we assert our boundaries, what are the likely responses we're going to get from them. And yes, they may go into silence, and they may sort of freeze you out for a bit, but just have patience with them. Just have patience, and you'll find your peace, because overall they do like it when we assert our boundaries. They do find it alluring. So rest assured that it's really important part of this journey, and really important part of your growth, to be comfortable asserting those boundaries. So what I'm going to do now is I'll put a little link in the comments section below, and the link will take you through to a couple of questions, self-exploratory questions, that will help you with looking at areas that you may want to to create some boundaries and exploring what those boundaries are and how they'll look for you. So if you want to do that, just click on the box below. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining me today, and wishing you infinite love and gratitude. Until next time, I'll see you then. Thanks very much. Bye.